Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
Without further ado, wacky do, we've got Melissa Pierce. Is that good?
Hello. All right, so we're just going to start, and you can see up here text, 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 text. So from the moment we are born, we are taking in information. You know, we can't even spit it out yet. We can't make any sense of it because it's all just input. It's just the text. It, you know, until we can relate this text together, these events together, it means nothing to us. That's when it becomes context. So what I was interested when I started making my film was how we processed all of this new information that was coming into our brains. How we took, I'm pointing at the computer, you guys can't see it, but how we took all this text and related it to the world around us. And how all of this access to all of this new information that we were getting, because there's a lot of information out there that we can pull in now, right? How we were synthesizing that, how we were turning that into whatever it is, how we related to the world. And what I think and what I noticed is that we're kind of in a revolution of some sort, that we are in a contextual revolution. And we are in a time where technology has changed how we think about ourselves so much that we are in this very quiet revolution. You know, and it's an interesting thing because now with the real-time internet, we all realize we're kind of in this thing. And individually, we just are standing on top of this whale and we're like, I see this little piece of this thing that I'm on top of it. I know it's moving, but I don't know what it is. But all of us together, all of us communicating in real time, we can kind of piece it together, all of us. So we're all kind of riding the same whale. You guys know that whale? That whale? So we're all riding the same whale and we can describe this context to one another. So I don't remember what's on the next slide, but you should go there. All right, revolution. So what is revolution? Most people hear the term revolution and they think of the American Revolution, where I guess it's not a very high quality picture, where like Bob Dylan and George Washington and Justin Bieber are all like, they're all like, you know what? We can think for ourselves, and we don't need a king who's at the right hand of God to tell us what to do. And the next slide is the French Revolution, who copied Justin Bieber. And they were basically like, you know what? After this revolution, shirtless chicks with bayonets are totally allowed in the army. And the next slide. Then we have the Industrial Revolution. And everyone knows about this. When they think of Industrial Revolution, it's no longer the bloody revolution. There are also these kinds of revolutions where we realize that we can create amazing things. And this pretty much changed everything, right? And they said that this revolution actually started in the 1300s, which is fascinating to me. And it's done now, right? We're not inventing anything new. So, and then you have revolutions which we don't think very highly of. Revolutions that change an entire society's behavior by not freeing them like the American Revolution and the French Revolution, but by changing their entire world. And then we have revolutions where this revolution is so cool to me. This is a revolution in 1967 where the children recognized that they had a voice. These kids took to the street because they wanted change. And that's kind of what a revolution is. But here is a stack of mail, and you're like, Melissa, what the hell is that doing up there? This is not part of a revolution. But mail revolutionized the world. When someone realized they could send something to someone else, I can send you a message or a missive, that was revolutionary. Torturing our children with vaccines, revolutionary. I was just reading Ben Franklin's autobiography, and he had a 4-year-old that died from smallpox. And in it, he says that his one regret is that he didn't submit his child to the operation. It was an operation in Ben Franklin's time of getting inoculated because he had lost his 4-year-old son because he didn't want to do it. I know there's a lot of controversy with these, but inoculations were a revolution. Those improved so many people's quality of life. The paper cup, revolution. Think about how this changed the lives of people, these things that we just take for granted that are out there. You know that coffee press? I don't remember what that's called, but it's so cool. That paper cup, that's a coffee press, right? He just spoke. And how's that going to change my life? Because I am a snob about coffee. And now I can make my own. I'm going to, just sit at the Four Seasons and be like, no, dude, I brought my own, yours sucks. So the paper cup, definitely a revolution. Email, revolutionary. The fail whale, again, revolutionary, right? Now we're upset when we can't speak to people from across the world at the snap of a finger. That's a revolutionary thing. So revolution, it's a radical and pervasive change in society and social structure. And that is something that I noticed was happening. That is something that I noticed was going on in the world. In just my little world, all of my friends were like, we don't know what's going on, something's changing, we have all these problems and can't figure them out, and they were throwing themselves up against the same wall. And I had to tell them, hey, the world's changing. And I got really sick of telling them one at a time, so I decided to make a film, which is really how it happened. There's no audio.
Or they put a picture of the little girls who used to work at the textile mill, being able to go to school or whatever.
It's part
you
of the
don't
film.
realize you're in the middle of one when it's happening. When an industrial revolution occurs, fundamental ideas shift. It was an industrial revolution when they invented carts and wagons and horses. It was an industrial revolution when people realized you could mail stuff. I would argue there was the Charles Revson, Revlon TV commercial, Trouble with Pop-O-Matic TV commercial, industrial revolution.
There's fewer editors, there's fewer speed bumps between your idea and other people.
Okay, so that's a clip from my movie. So I went out and I interviewed a bunch of people that maybe had better answers than I did about what was going on in the world. But basically that encapsulates the kind of revolution that we're in right now. And I was interested as to what's happening now, how can I capture that now? And what's going to happen in the future? What are future revolutions like? And you can't see that. The joke is lost. It's so dark. What's going on? So it's such a good picture, too. Dim the lights. Still dark. Okay, so, here we go. So it's this super violent picture of the Cylons taking over. Woohoo! That's right. Way to go. Go Cylons. So, is this the revolution? Are the machines going to take over now that we rely on them so heavily? And what I love about this is that, every good science fiction story basically just takes a normal timeline and changes one thing. That's just one thing. So the one thing they changed is the Cylons took over, right? That's it. So this revolution that we have right now, what I see happening right now, what I filmed and tried to find out was, what was that one thing that's changing everything? And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I think it's access. So the revolution of access, not just access to information, but access to other people. Other people having access to us. The tools, the iPhones, the computers, the software we use, That's just the text. It's not the context. The access, though. That information that we're all taking in and how we think about it and relate to ourselves, that's the context. That's the revolution right there, is the context. So I think the next slide is probably more of the film. And I think it's of Jeffrey Zeldman. Or wait, yeah, it is. So where's this at?
Websites were this professional media that someone else created and you used. And what's been happening in the last maybe 8 years is that there are now sites that encourage you to create, and people creating and sharing, sharing their photographs, sharing their music, sharing jokes. It became, I thought everyone was going to learn HTML, they didn't. I thought everyone would blog, they didn't. But eventually, blogging tools got so easy to use. I mean, Tumblr, you just sign up for an account and you're blogging. WordPress, you sign up for an account and you're blogging. You don't have to design it, you don't have to know anything. It's all, so there are people like me and my colleagues who are figuring this stuff out and making it more and more easy and accessible for everyone, and then everyone's using it. There's more computing power here than NASA had when they went to the moon, right? All the computers they had at NASA to go to the moon had less computing power than is in an iPhone.
Really?
Yeah, really.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
All right, you guys are getting a good taste of my ridiculous humor. But think about that. When they sent rockets to the moon, they used protractors. Like I can't find my way across the street without GPS. So we think of that as a revolution, and we have the world in our pockets. So I was really interested as to how the world in our pockets is going to change the way people think, and how it's changed the way we think already. I don't know what the next clip is either. Oh, so more about access. So this is my Facebook. People can put themselves out there. We're now hunter-gatherers, right? We hunt information. We gather information. When you wake up, the first thing you do, I'm guessing, is you get your phone and you look at your email. You look at what's new in the news. You synthesize it all together and figure out how the day is going to go. Then you put it out there. You type up here, this is from yesterday, space travel is being funded by laser hair removal. This is not a lie. Were you here yesterday? Right, that was the best part of yesterday, was laser hair removal is going to send people to the moon, and that's pretty hot. Space elevators. The less hair I have on my body, the faster we get to the moon. Right? So we've become hunter-gatherers. We are still in that thing, but not only are we hunter-gatherers, we're also producers. I think we have a hunter-gatherer slide next. Right, look at those guys. They're also hairless. This funding has been going on for a long time. All right, I don't know what the next one is. Great clip.
There is so much free thought being shared right now globally. It's not just setting the playing field for people in the United States or Europe. It's a global movement that I think is changing how we think about life, how we go through life, why, how we share experiences and stories. And I think what we're going to see is just a fundamental shift in everything.
There's less of a separation between people and technology. It's becoming much more, screens are ubiquitous.
More and more people are going to have access in the world regardless of the digital divide, simply because many of the developing countries aren't getting those landlines put in. They're already on mobile. There might not be a whole heck of a lot of electricity in the village, but where there is electricity, there's a mobile phone, and it's being passed from person to person to person.
Technology is a means to an end, and I don't think it's the end, and I think that's what's important, and I think the best use of it is when we approach it that way, when we use technology to create something better and something different, but we don't rely on it as a crutch, or we don't rely on the gimmicks.
Frankly, I've never seen more productivity in the creative world than now. So it seems that there isn't just a bunch of, sort of computer potatoes out there reading blogs, that there's enormous amount of energy out there. Maybe it's because I get to see that because I can see it on a website. You know, I can go to Unbeige and I can go to 5 links and see somebody who's doing furniture design. Before I know it, I realize that there's like 1 million people globally making all kinds of stuff constantly. Now, were they making all kinds of stuff constantly 10 years ago, except that I just didn't know it? Or is it that there's something going on out there where there's this enormous zeitgeist or there's this surge of the need to make things and to be creative?
So my theory is that there is a zeitgeist happening, that we have so much coming in that we have synthesized this context and we're putting it out there in a super big way. I don't know why this is here. I just thought it was really funny. As far as context goes, sexual revolution, however you want to read into that, I thought it was frickin' hilarious. Like, she learned to lie at a really early age to make him feel better, and this is, you know, what wives do. I can't open this pickle jar. So if you don't know, I'm married, I have 3 kids, and I can never open pickle jars. So, you know, that's how it goes. I don't know what the next one is, so we'll see.
Recognizes that a click is actually an act of co-creation. When you click from one page to the next, you're actually co-creating your experience. It's no longer linear. And you're communicating something to the site about what you're interested in and what you want to see next. So I believe a click is actually an act of creation. A rating is an act of creation. Sharing is an act of creation. And then commenting, and then producing a video, then and then producing a documentary. So creation and self-expression have many levels, and I think all are equal. Every single click reveals a little bit about who you are.
We should go back so we don't have to look at Jeff Pulver's face the whole time. Just go backwards. So, because I'm going to talk for a little bit now. I mean, you shouldn't have to look at that. He's a really nice guy. He's really nice. There we go. Who am I? Excellent. Oh, so go forward. So yeah, he's a really nice guy. Oh, look, now you're just going through all my slides and screwing stuff up. My assistant, who's this really brilliant guy from Whirl, is screwing stuff up. So this actually is not this clip, but it's a good clip to stop on. So every click is an act of co-creation. Every click reveals a little bit something about yourself. Think about that for a minute. So before I started making a film, I was a life coach. I had no previous filmmaking experience. I just knew that picking up a camera was going to empower me to get interviews that I needed to get, to talk to people who would otherwise not give me the time of day. And part of my coaching, to get people to understand who they were and where they were going in life, to help their, confused little heads, was to play this game with them called What's Your Preference, where they had to decide between 2 things which they preferred. Because most people, if you say we're going to a movie, they say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I see, or it doesn't matter what you order for me, or it just doesn't matter. But it does. Every preference matters because you learn a little bit more about yourself. You trust yourself a little more. So I posited that every click reveals to you who you are a little bit more every day, because in that moment, that's your interest, right? You're pursuing your interest. You are more passionate about the blue button than the red button, right? Take the blue pill. So I was really interested as to how people thought of themselves, what this was about, right? Who am I? Now I'm all screwed up. Wrong slide. But that's my story. I was really interested in that. So, like I said, I picked up this camera and I decided I was going to interview a bunch of people, although I had no idea what I was doing. And so I started to ask people on Twitter, because I started Twitter because I was like a mom of 3 kids. I needed adults to talk to, even if it was at 3 seconds at a time. And I said, who should I interview that would be good at helping me figure out what's happening in the world? And people would tell me. And if I got 3 or 4 suggestions of the same person, I would send them an email and I would go out and interview them if they said yes. And I made a point of not vetting the people that I interviewed. I made a point of not figuring out anything about them. I would just show up to wherever the interview was and interview them, mostly because I was scared to death that I'd be intimidated and wouldn't show up, but partly because I wanted to have a human connection with them. So I made Life in Perpetual Beta. 5-minute warning, holy crap. So I made this film, Life in Perpetual Beta, which was basically crowdsourced the same way I told you. I just used the people that were interested in what I was doing. I was passionate, so they were passionate. You know, when you're passionate about something you're doing, that just happens. People are willing to help you. So people flew me all over the world. I said, hey, I got this interview with this famous person in New York, and he won't let me tell you who he is, but I've got to get to New York. And people would send me $30 at a time, and I'd put their name in the credits of the film. All these people that helped me, I put their name in the credits of the film because they helped me, but they were passionate about this project that I was doing. And they would fly me to New York. Film crews would show up. I showed up to South by Southwest to talk with $40 in my pocket. I had 9 days there, no place to stay. Every single day, I checked my luggage into the Hilton and had no idea what was going to happen after that. And just opened myself to the opportunity that if I was going to be making this film the way I was, if I was going to be living in Life in Perpetual Beta, if I was really testing this theory that the planned life isn't worth living anymore because we have all of this information that we can synthesize it down into this context that helps us live our life like in the moment, that I could do that at South by Southwest. And what happened there was incredible. I had a place to stay, not just a place to stay, but a castle, right? Someone showed up with designer clothes for me to wear. They're like, hey, you're the it girl. Here are some clothes that are probably more expensive than your car. Could you wear them? You know, I had food to eat. I just had this community around me that was incredible. So I don't know what the next slide was. So life begins when you get out of your comfort zone. And that's totally true. I mean, I'm just as, you know, for all practical purposes, I was just a stay-at-home mom. I homeschooled my kids, and I had a question, and I went out and got this stupid thing answered. You know, and what came out of it was 2 years of my life, 45 hours of footage, and, 40-minute film that now I have 2 studios looking into. They're fighting over making it a big production, which is kind of cool because I thought the film was done, and they're like, we really like your rough cut. We want to talk to you. I was like, that's fucking done, boo. You know, like 2 years, my rough cut. Yeah, I really like this quote, and I saw it this morning on my friend's refrigerator, and it's just a great, because I think that's true, and I think that switching, back to that, finding out who you are just by clicking is true. You know, you've heard those studies about how the internet lowers people's inhibitions. And isn't that a great thing? Because you're not afraid to click on something you are interested in and find out more about it now. You have all of this access. So, access is the revolution. That's what we're seeing. And I think the next one is just my information, right? Yeah, there we go. So if you want to continue any conversations, I'm at Melissa Pierce. My website is lifeinperpetualbeta.com. If you go there, I haven't blogged for 6 months. I only put up a post if I have an interview, so they happen sporadically. It's not a big deal. And this is the part where I say, do you have any questions, right? Okay.
We have time for one question.
What? Ben, go ahead. I've got a question. Hey, hi, Melissa.
Hi.
So, can you talk a little bit more about how you raised the money for the film?
Sure. I realized that I couldn't fly over the world, so I had to think of something creative to do, which was I told people that I would put their name in the credits of the film and send them a T-shirt that said "My life is in perpetual beta," and people were like, "Yeah, I'll send you $30." So that's really how I did it. Is people were passionate. So maybe 70 or 80 people just paid for stuff. Computers, people sent me computers. Every time one of my computers broke, someone sent me a new one so I could continue editing. So I think I'm on computer number 4 now. I'm on MacBook number 4. After I was finished with my rough cut, Kickstarter gave me a call, and they're like, we really want you to be on Kickstarter. So I was able to raise another $7,000 on Kickstarter to get the film that, if you want it from rural, you can watch the 40-minute film, to get that. And just a lot of good things have come my way from that. Is that answer? Is that? Yeah, I raised money by following my heart. Yeah. Pardon? I think we're going to order it. So yeah, one of the companies that is vying for my film. That's so weird to say, right? I'm going to totally own it. My film fucking rocks. Yeah, one of the companies that is vying for my film put it online, but they just sent me an email and says, Melissa, I think this is a really bad move. Just, wait a little bit. But if we get it online, I'll give you all a password and everyone in the room can watch it. But if not, it'll be on iTunes pretty soon anyway, right? The rough cut, because I've got creative control and that's awesome. That's it.